Hey there and welcome back to The Sims 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this attempt to fully complete The Sims 3 World Adventures. And while we make a few small adjustments in the background based on suggestions from your comments on the last episode, let me briefly recap how Uni, Sanat and William finished the Dragon Cave, wrapped up business in Shangsimla for good, and returned home to complete this Chinese wing of our museum. So, we can now begin the episode with Fabien back at the nectar makers, using as many homegrown grapes as possible. The final nectar making skill challenge is still missing, so every batch helps. Uni meanwhile breaks space rocks and Sanat paints. Neither activity is particularly exciting at this point, but both can produce a decent amount of money using skills they have already maxed out. In the meantime, I want to make one small adjustment to the Egyptian museum. After discovering that 4 Sims can actually sleep inside a single Sultan's tabernacle, the second tent in here is no longer needed. So we remove it, move the remaining tent into the center, and rearrange the relic and insect displays along the side. The dive well can also move out for now, and I think with that the room already feels a little less cramped. With that done, we can turn our attention now to the final lifetime wish still missing from the World Adventures expansion, Sanat's world-class gallery. The requirement is to display at least 10 photographs from each of the 3 travel destinations, with the entire collection worth at least 25,000 simoleons. Now the quantity is not really the problem, Sanat has taken plenty of pictures over the course of the series, but we still need to put everything on display and reach the required total value. Let's begin with Al-Samhara in the Egyptian Museum. Getting the 10 photographs arranged nicely on the walls was a little more finicky than expected, but eventually the first section is complete. Next comes Shangsimla, and I initially gave the pictures red frames to match the Chinese wing, but I did not particularly like how that looked, so after placing 2 large panorama shots on the opposite wall, mostly to increase the total collection value, I switched everything over to a darker wooden frame instead. That fits the room much better, and I also moved some of the photographs up and down slightly so that the arrangement feels a bit more natural. Back in the Egyptian wing, we also add a few more high-value pictures as well. 10 photographs per destination is only the minimum after all, not the maximum, so there is no reason not to make use of the extra wall space if it helps us reach the value requirement. Finally, we move on to Jean Sims. Once again, finding 10 pictures is no problem. One of them even gets a slightly more prominent spot. A photograph of nectar maker Corentin Laurent goes directly onto the bar, providing a little inspiration for Fabien while he continues his work. At this point, we have enough photographs from all 3 destinations on display, but not enough total value. No worries though, because Sanat still has plenty of pictures stored inside his camera, including several high-value motifs. So, at least for a moment, the focus shifts onto just plastering every available surface until we get to our goal. We essentially place extra photographs wherever there is room, even on the outside of the small bathroom that is still left over from the old gazebo. Most of these will go straight back into Sanat's inventory once the lifetime wish is complete anyway, so the arrangement does not need to be permanent. And there we are. With one final photograph placed on the kitchen counter, the collection crosses the threshold and Sanat fulfills the world-class gallery lifetime wish. More importantly, this was the last lifetime wish still missing from our completionist checklist. All 8 wishes added in World Adventures have now been completed. And with the photography and martial arts skills already taken care of as well, the list of things still standing between us and full completion is getting very short. With the wish complete, let us now clean things up again and put most of the extra photographs back into storage, keeping only the ones that actually fit their respective museum wings. Sanat has now also crossed the 100,000 lifetime happiness points mark, so we might as well spend some of those. Dirt Defiant will keep his hygiene from dropping as quickly, Extra Creative should make his paintings more valuable, and Meditative Trance Sleep means less time in bed and more time spent doing productive things. Uni then gets Dirt Defiant as well, while William, sitting on 89,000 points, picks up both Dirt Defiant and Meditative Trance Sleep. Fabien also has 78,000 points to work with, so he gets the same 2 rewards plus Learned Relic Hunter. That last one will actually become useful later in the episode. Back to the easel then, where Sanat finishes a brilliant painting and completes the Proficient Painter skill challenge, and we can sell the result immediately, and almost at the exact same moment, William reaches Gardening level 10. Fabien, meanwhile, starts the next round of nectar production. The final skill challenge still refuses to unlock, and we are starting to run low on suitable grapes, so while we wait for the garden to produce more, he also upgrades the nectar makers. Sanat finishes another painting shortly after and sells that one too. At his current speed, we should be able to get roughly 4 or 5 paintings out of him per day, which makes this a pretty reliable moneymaker. By evening, the household then gathers for dinner in the French wing, a room that is still missing 2 tomb sigils from its collection. We will try to fix that in just a moment. For now, we take note of a lovely development outside. One of the Tiberium pieces we placed last episode has grown into a large spire cut worth more than 40,000 simoleons. Let's sell it to push the household's net value past 500,000 simoleons for the first time. Sanat then squeezes in one more painting before bed, while William is already awake again by 3 in the morning. He grabs the mail, containing a nice surprise, a large heart-shaped soul piece gem. Now, he had only sent one away for a regular heart-shaped cut. This is significantly more valuable than expected. We are keeping this one though for its uniqueness. At this point, we really do not need the extra money, especially with another Tiberium spire ready to sell for roughly 43,000 simoleons. So I would say our finances are very much taken care of, and that means we can focus entirely on what may be the final journey of this series. William and Fabien are heading back to Jean-les-Sims. Uni, Sanat and Captain Bluepants stay home. There simply is not enough left to do in France to keep them busy. Upon our arrival in Jean-les-Sims, both our active quests update immediately, and Fabien also fulfills his wish to return to his home country. His first stop is now Corentin-Laurent, who needs to hear about our findings in Egypt. We successfully obtained the Ruby of Sakhara, and according to the nectar maker, it should fit into one of the mysterious holes we discovered beneath his nectary. William, meanwhile, turns in his own long-running travel quest. After arranging 3 places to stay in both Egypt and China, he earns a rather generous reward of 6,000 simoleons. With both errands complete, we now meet up at the nectary. William fulfills another wish simply by visiting, then the two head into the secret cellar and investigate the holes once more. And, as expected, the Ruby of Sakhara fits perfectly. Placing it causes a keystone to appear on the nearby pedestal, which in turn unlocks the door on the right side of the chamber. This leads into the Tomb of Isael, wife of Jean Nectaux, and somewhere inside should be the Sapphire of the Crescent Moon, the item we need to eventually open Jean Nectaux's own tomb. So, down we go. After descending 2 sets of stairs, we grab a bottle of nectar from the shelf and continue along the corridor. Fabien takes the first door on the left, entering a room full of statues and narrow walkways suspended above another chamber, while William discovers what appears to be a small bathroom, and using the toilet in here, for some reason reveals a hidden treasure room. Fabien, meanwhile, investigates a hole in the floor to reveal 2 floor switches. To activate them, he needs to drag a golden statue through the room and onto both tiles. That is going to take a while, and William can use it productively by teleporting to the market, where our first stop is book merchant Bertrand Vier-Ducasse. We purchase all 4 unique French recipes, another small piece of the Completionist checklist taken care of. Back underground, Fabien has officially pushed the statue onto the first switch. This reveals a hole in the wall containing a hard keystone. One of 2 we'll need to advance further into the tomb. William still has some shopping to do though. At the general goods store of Carla Ruiz, we pick up a unique French treasure chest and the Kenspo scooter. The latter isn't really necessary at this point, but it is a unique World Adventures item, so for the sake of full completion, we'll take it. Then it's back into the tomb. William already places the first hard keystone and enters the chamber on the right side of the corridor. There is some nectar, a money bag, and most importantly, a dive well to explore. Fabien has now also moved the statue onto the second floor switch that reveals a pressure plate, which in turn opens 2 doors in the chamber below. Strictly speaking, that lower area is not actually part of this tomb, but we'll get there later. For now, William dives into the well and activates a switch at the bottom, opening another hidden passage. Once again, we find ourselves above a lower chamber with a series of narrow walkways. A rubble pile blocks the route, so William clears it with Pangu's axe, and hidden underneath is a relic from the Dangerous Creatures collection, no longer needed for the set itself, but valuable enough to fulfill one of Fabien's wishes. The next obstacle then is a small statue puzzle. We need to drag one statue out of the way to access the second, then move both around enough to clear the route towards a treasure chest. William takes over one while Fabien handles the other statue, and eventually the chest is accessible. Inside, our second hard keystone. William immediately heads back to place it, disabling the fire traps blocking the main corridor. Fabien, meanwhile, pushes one of the statues back in the opposite direction, activating another floor switch and opening yet another secret door in the chamber below. Again, not technically part of this tomb, but useful for later. After clearing the rubble pile blocking the main path, William then reveals 2 more statues, and both of these need to be dragged all the way back into the entrance corridor and placed onto separate floor switches. Doing so will open 2 hidden passages nearby. And let's start with the room on the right here. Inside, William smashes another pile of rocks, while Fabien places a butterfly onto a pedestal. The pedestal simply requires some sort of decorative donation. A beetle, unsmelted metal, or any other decorative object would work just as well. The donation opens a secret treasure chamber, while William reaches a chest beneath the rubble, containing several valuable bottles of nectar. The fire traps that just activated are also not much of an obstacle thanks to teleportation. The chamber opened on the other side is a different story though. That route is completely blocked by fire and requires yet another pair of hard keystones before we can cross it. So for now, we can continue through the corridor opened by the first 2. This leads into a surprisingly elaborate set of private chambers. There are a few treasures lying around, but the important part is finding the route onwards. The obvious door on the left only leads to a treasure chest with more nectar. The real path is hidden behind a secret wall discovered by Fabien here, which loops around behind that chest. And that brings us to probably the most unpleasant puzzle in this tomb. This chamber here contains 18 pushable statues packed together in a very tight space. And on the other side are both a treasure chest and another hard keystone. Now, I'm definitely not going to narrate every single movement here. Fabien works his way through the puzzle. This is really a one-sim job anyway, while William heads back and pulls another statue away from another pressure plate, unlocking yet another hidden passage in the chamber below. Eventually then, Fabien reaches the chest, and after all that work, it contains only a vase and some dried food. Wonderful. William at least has better luck. A few steps further back, he finds another hidden side chamber and eventually discovers the tomb's unique sigil. That is, once again, extremely important for us, because now only one French tomb sigil remains missing. Fabien finally reaches the hard keystone as well, and the 2 of them can now return to the private chambers. The door on the opposite side here leads into a sleeping area. There is a treasure chest here along with several piles of rubble that look suspiciously like the result of a cave-in, although the loot beneath them is nothing particularly noteworthy. Once more then, the bathroom hides a secret passage, this time into a small private nectar storage room, and beyond that lies something rather strange, an underground garden, or at least a chamber made to look like one. There are a few minor treasures scattered around, but the important item is the second heart keystone. Fabien can grab it while William decides that this is as good a time as any to get some sleep. Now, sharing a tent would not be a problem, but sharing a bed requires a little more familiarity than these two have, so Fabien settles for a short nap on the sofa instead. Once both are reasonably well rested, it is time for the final push. We return all the way to the starting corridor and enter that second chamber we opened earlier. The first heart keystone disables the wall of fire traps, and the second opens the door beyond them. The next room is thankfully much simpler. 4 statues, 4 floor switches. I believe our adventurers know what to do. William rejoins Fabien to speed things up, and once all floor switches are activated, the final doorway opens. We have now reached the last chamber of this tomb. 4 sarcophagi line the room, plenty of nectar is also scattered around, and electricity traps block a set of stairs. Those are easily dealt with though, by dragging a statue onto the nearby floor switch. William then reads the plaque beside another set of fire traps. Seems like there is no way through here, at least not yet. A second plaque identifies Isael's final resting place, but unfortunately, the Sapphire of the Crescent Moon is not inside her sarcophagus, nor is it in any of the others. There is some decent treasure to collect, but not the one item we actually came here for. That leaves only one place to search, up the stairs, where 2 traps block access to a final set of treasure chests. Now, technically, disabling one would be enough to get through, but we might as well deal with both of them. And finally, behind them, we find what we need. The 2 outer chests only contain more nectar, but the center chest here holds the Sapphire of the Crescent Moon, along with a valuable Droper stone. And because we have absolutely no intention of fighting the mummies that just awoke on our way back out, we simply teleport straight back to the nectary entrance and report our success to Corentin Laurent. According to him, the Sapphire should now give us access to the next and final stage of this questline, the tomb of Jean Nectaux himself. We'll tackle that next time though. Both our sims need some sleep. It is already almost 7 in the morning, so we set up the tent, crawl inside, and prepare for the very last tomb of the series. I hope you join me for that. Could be the last episode in the series, and I also hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!